England Take. I'm your host, AJ Kierstead, NewEnglandTake.com. Check out the Substack. Big thank you to WKXL for picking up the show every Saturday, 8:30 a.m. Also, be sure to check out my new New England News Roundup that airs over there on WKXL, 1450 a.m., 103.9 FM in Concord, as well as 101.9 FM in Manchester. Please be sure to reach out, AJ at NewEnglandTake.com, if you're interested in learning more about opportunities that come along with that, and GraniteRock.com for picking up the show every Saturday in Concord TV in their regular rotation. All right. I have a first-time guest here on the show. He reached out to me. He's checked out the show apparently for a minute, and I'm excited to hear him reach out. It's Edmond Laplante. He's the state chairman for the Constitution Party of New Hampshire. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, AJ.
All right, so Constitution Party. I'm a Concord resident, so I'm a little spoiled because I see your float in all the parades we have here and such, which is awesome to see that community involvement from a party as opposed to just getting their candidates' faces out there as the priority. It's more of a movement, which I really appreciate about it. But if someone hasn't heard about the Constitution Party, how would you describe it? We'll dive into the specific policies after.
Well, the Constitution Party's been around. It's the fourth largest in the United States. In '92, it was called the Taxpayers Party originally, but who the hell wants to be called that?
Not a good sales pitch.
So we changed it to the Constitution Party, and here in New Hampshire, we've been affiliated for the last almost 4 years now, and I was sworn in by the chairman, and we met. I ran for United States Senate as a Republican about 4 years ago, and I was an auto mechanic. I'm an auto mechanic by trade, and that's all I do. And I was like, I got sick of voting for people I felt like I was getting stabbed in the back. So my idea was, let's not. I didn't want to take no money, no donations. I didn't want to be beholden to anybody. So what I did was, I ran as a Republican, didn't take no donations, and Granite Rock has their polls. Who would you like to see as United States Senator? And I came in second place behind Don Boldock. So I was like, hey, cool, this is great. And another one, I came in third, and I was like, all right, awesome. But I found when I went to do the debates on TV, Channel 9, Adam Sexton, he says, you're not allowed. I'm like, why is that? He said, well, how much money did you raise? I'm like, I didn't raise any money. I don't take donations. Well, the purse is $500,000 to get in. I'm like, yeah, but I came in. You think an auto mechanic come in second place?
Yeah, I know. It's the whole nature.
Really stood up wells and whistles, and I was like, okay, well, whatever. That's their policy. Then New Hampshire Journal, Michael Graham, the same thing. I ran on the same problem. 500,000 is their purse. I'm like, okay. The CNN News team, same problem. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, I thought this was about the people, not the money. And they're like, well, that's the rules. And so I talked to Chris Agar at the time, who was the head chairman of the, and he's like, Ed, that's the rules, we can't, and I was like, well, I thought this was about the people, not necessarily the money. He says, well, you got to raise money for the party. I'm like, I'm more interested in the people. So with that being said, they, obviously I lost, and I was telling them I wanted to reach out to more younger people. I'm like, we got to get the under 40 crowd in here. And I was the youngest person there, and I'm like, I was, almost 50 years old. I'm like, this is crazy. I says, let's reach out to the younger people. And they're like, well, typically our database shows that they don't vote. They're not really reliable. But if we concentrate on these people, I'm like, but those people are going to vote. Those are your bread and butter. Why not have a battle of the bands to draw these young people in? Have a painting party for the girls. I says, the painting parties are really, really popular. I'm like, if we bring in the women, young women, the guys are going to follow. And Ed, we're not a dating service. So I'm like,
It's this fundamental failure of the traditional party system, and the reason why so many people view it as so corrupt. Partly it is corruption. There's big time corruption when it comes to the two big parties in this country. I'm saying at the federal level. I'm not calling anyone out specifically at the state level for sure, but it's a money making enterprise first and foremost, and the grassroots organization efforts are, especially on the right, are a nightmare. They do not understand it. And there's certain activist organizations that I think do a decent job of trying to motivating the vote, getting door knockers and things like that. But the parties themselves do a just terrible job. Meanwhile, that's been one of the big reasons in the last 15 years that the Democrats have been able to get as much momentum is they've done a fantastic job of activating young, motivated individuals not happy with what they're seeing. And I just, for the life of me, I don't understand why the Republican side of the aisle can't just mimic it.
Absolutely, AJ. I was saying the same thing, and I was telling them the same thing. And then, lo and behold, when Maggie Hassan beat Don Bolduc, 72% of her vote came from people under 35. And I was like, what did I tell you guys? And all the young people I were talking to, you know, I'm lucky if I work in a garage where there's a lot of guys, under 35, under 40. They're all different ranges, and they're telling me the same thing. Well, both parties suck. This one sucks. That one sucks light. It's fixed. It's rigged. I don't see it. It was really disheartening for me. So it made me want to try harder. So I was looking at the parties, and I'm saying the fourth. I'm like, what else is there for parties? And I looked, and lo and behold, there's a Constitution Party. So I got a hold of them, and it was like, well, there's an event. We the People is having it in Treese Bass-Rash, and I said, I know Treese. And he said, well, can you go there and talk to them about it? So I did, and she liked what I had to say, and while I was there, she's like, well, let me introduce you to Megan Schmidt, who's now our secretary, who's also the secretary for the whole United States now. Donna LeClaire, she's our treasurer, our state treasurer, and she's also treasurer for the whole United States now. And I'm like, oh, cool. And Kristen Jackson, she's our first vice chair, and she's also the regional chair. And I was like, so we just clicked together, and we went to Missouri. We drove to Missouri, got sworn in, so it was at a good time. Then the next time we went to Salt Lake City, we drove there, Utah, and we just been rolling with it. And we feel that our pitches, the Constitution's the one thing that should bind everybody, and that's what I tell everybody. I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're Libertarian, I don't care if you're Democrat. It doesn't matter to me, as long as you believe in the Constitution. And I think both parties are totally ignoring it, and it's really frustrating. So that's what our pitch is. That's what we tell everybody. Listen, we don't care what we don't care what religion you are. We don't care what party you are. If you believe in the Constitution Party is for you, and that's what our pitch is really.
Is there a lot of independence between the national party versus the state party and what the focus is?
Yeah, I was lucky in that department too, because when I talked to the head chair for the national committee, he's a young guy. He just got voted in recently, and I told him, I said, listen, New Hampshire's not like everybody else.
Yeah.
The other 21 states that are affiliated, they're very highly religious, which is fine. I said, here in New Hampshire, I need some lead way. We're one of the least religious states in the United States, according to the statistics. And I'm like, so it's kind of a hard pitch. And a lot of our members are really religious, and there's nothing wrong with that.
There's a New Hampshire has this fundamental thing where even if you are a religious person, you don't want the state government or the federal government to have any input whatsoever. It's that the whole conservative libertarian movement in this state is so strong because of that, which is fantastic to see that.
Yeah, and that's what I looked at too. I looked at the statistics that says, hey, 43% of the people in New Hampshire are undeclared. I'm like, wow, if they could come together, what if there was a third party? And I know, like George Washington was farewell address. I don't know how schooled you are in history, but he warned the dangers of a two-party system, and we're seeing it unfold. You know, they were wise beyond their years too. The Monroe Doctrine, you know, stay out of foreign affairs, and here we are getting involved in foreign affairs. I'm like, boy, this is just. I think most of the problems that we face can be solved by following the Constitution. And what I tell people is too, I'm like, listen, I'm an auto mechanic. You know, when I come across a problem that I can't solve, I go to the repair manual. Everything's written in there. If I follow it step by step, lo and behold, the car's fixed. It's the same thing to me. When I look at the Constitution, that's the way I look at it.
I gotta at least have you comment a little bit on the other third party elephant in the room when it comes to New Hampshire, which is the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, which obviously is a totally different direction, in my opinion, that they try and go to from motivating the base. But can you speak to a little bit of the comparison between what you're doing with the Constitution Party of New Hampshire versus the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, which is conservative coded?
Sure. I attended an event held by the Free Staters, actually, not too
Mm-hmm.
long ago. Eric, I believe his name was. It was held by the FACL, Foundation for Applied Conservative Leadership. That's why I took the classes with them guys, and um, Megan Schmidt, she's our secretary. She says this about us. She says, "I feel the Constitution Party is the libertarians with boundaries." That's the way she explained it. I think I'm like, that's pretty
Love it.
good. And you know, I found that too. You know, when I talked to libertarians, even before when I was a Republican, a lot of my libertarian friends were because I had a hard time categorizing myself. I'm like, what am I? I'm not super conservative. I believe, you know, I'm conservative, but you know, hey, whatever you do, that's whatever sexual orientation, that's up to you. Just keep it out away from the kids. Keep it to yourself. I don't care what you do. Your marriage wise, hey, the government should stay out of it. You know, a little less government. So we're that. But when I talk to libertarians, I found in the groups, one group was all drugs should be legal, everything. Another group was no mass incarceration. Another group was no taxation on anything. And if they could all come together, they would kill it, but they can't. And that's just what I found. And I there's certain parts of every single group that I talked to, I liked. I was like, you have a really good point. You know, you have a really good point. You have a good point. You know, but they just for whatever reason, they're just a lot of headbutting them. Same, I guess, with any party. I guess you know, it just
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes total sense. It's one of those things I always joke whenever I get someone from any of the libertarian factions here in the state is the worst thing that can happen to a debate is two libertarians discussing anything with each other because it turns into
they're
a
brutal.
purity contest.
I've watched that. I'm like, holy smokes, you got a visions.
And that's one of the big things that fundamentally, like every time I do those to do your political compass, where do you go in the foregrid? And I'm always like, I always look like the worst libertarian in the world because I'm like, there's the middle, and then I'm like two spots to the right because fundamentally, I believe in the Constitution being required as the standard language that we need in order to have this country work. I mean, it's one of the big things I call out when it comes to so many of the leftist rhetoric that's out there now is that they're wanting to tear apart our language, which in turn tears apart the fabric of us being able to have a cohesive political conversation and find solutions to anything. So if you remove this fundamental document and we'll say check out if you're interested in learning more about the Constitution Party, the national website has a little description video that's right there on the front page of it, which kind of gives a more of a baseline of where they came from. But obviously, like we're talking about here, it kind of varies state to state a little bit. But it kind of gives a great breakdown of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and kind of what the founders were saying at the time they founded this country is vital to making sure we continue to have a country, like a republic, if you can keep it.
Yep, yeah. And what we did too, we all took Constitution classes. We we actually have classes for free a lot of times. You know, just donate if you can. If you can't, then that's okay. Um, a lot of the girls, a couple of the girls teamed up with John Birch's side. They took classes from them. So I've took a bunch of online classes like Hinsdale and just um, stuff and Audible stuff they haven't think. I listen to them. And I don't just specifically pick one. I'll pick biblical constitution. Okay, we check that out. Then I checked out one that's totally liberal. I took one that was it said the Constitution. What the f does it say? Sure, and it was the point of view from like a 30-year-old. I'm like, this is awesome. I want to hear that. So that way, I understand. If I can understand what they're saying, I don't have to I don't have to agree with it. But if I can understand where they're coming from, then we can have a discussion. And that's what I try to approach everything as. If I can understand where you're coming from, okay. No, I may not agree with you, but I can say, you know what? I understand what you're saying. I understand why you feel the way you do. And I think it's just more cohesive. We can have a discussion. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't agree with you, but all right, let's be civil. Yep, you have a point. I see what you're saying, and I feel this way. Then let's see where we can work out from there.
100%. So, I mean, what is as a party for the Constitution Party in New Hampshire, what's your goal here for the next few years to motivate people to have interest in the party and possibly to run under the banner?
Yeah, that we've been trying. Matter of fact, I'm running for United States Senate this year. In New Hampshire, you have to get a third party. It's one of the things the Democrats and Republicans could agree on. They don't want no third party. So I have to get 3,000 signatures, 1,500 from each district. And now, once I get that, if there's no other third party, I go right to the general election, which is kind of cool. If I get the 3,000 signatures, so that's cool. And if we get 3% of the vote, then as long as we put another candidate up, we'll be on the ballot. So that's my feel. If we could just get on there, I mean, if we win, great. If we don't, and we get the 3%, to me that's a win because I can put people like a libertarian will say, Republicans that aren't really for me, and the Democrats ain't really for me. But the Constitution Party, we line up enough where I'll run. And what we do too, we vet our candidates. I noticed in the Republicans, they didn't vet nobody. They never asked me questions. They never, all I did was they looked at, did you vote Republican last 4 elections? Fine. Yeah, I did. Okay, that was it. What we do, we ask 10 questions. Each one of us will just ask a question about, what's the role of government? The wrong answer, just tell us what you think. And okay, well, yeah, we want to see if you align with the Constitution Party values.
So, I mean,
that's better where I get people.
and it's great. And it's one of those things where everyone is going to kind of have their little tweaks to how they feel about certain issues. And that's one of the big issues with the nature of, so, I mean, a big deal that a lot of the libertarians in the state and the MAGA types in the state have tried to do with the Republican Party is turn the ship. We're going to incrementally turn the ship in this direction, and it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time and everything like that, but you need to ultimately give in or be an absolute true believer on everything. Otherwise, you can't get anywhere because it all comes down to rhetoric. You see that right now, especially with the flailing Democratic Party, with them not knowing what direction they want to go in the future. It's turned into a purity test for I'm the most progressive person in the whole wide world. Yeah, sure, I'll talk to people. I promise. Pinky promise. I'm going to talk to everybody. But that's not all. They honestly are going to make everything to the nth degree be the most progressive, aligned with the ACLU and the National Democratic progressives out there, Democratic Socialist Party, and things of that nature. And it's not always the best way to do it. Sometimes you got to have that other party out there to make sure that we're aligning with what's best for our government, and it can't always be done by revamping the Republican Party.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed too over the years. I watch, and every time the Republicans lose an election, they go farther and farther to the left, and where most people are in the middle now, they're not even that way. I see so many things. I'm like, hey, where are you guys going there? I guess if that's the direction, that's fine. However, what bothered me was the most is like when I vote for somebody and they turn around and do the exact opposite of what they said they were going to do. And like, well, Ed, you don't understand how this is for the party. And I'm like, I don't care about the party. I care about the people. It should be about the people, not the party. You know, whatever. If that's how you're going to be, I don't want no part of it. It should be about the people.
What are some big policy issues that you're specifically focusing on right now with this campaign?
Well, for me, like a lot of things, government overreach. Where it's I see the government getting into a lot of things like Venezuela and you know uh, this Greenland thing. I'm like, okay, I understand. However, that's a little bit too much for me. I'm like, we should stay out of foreign affairs or stay out of Ukraine. Mind our own shop. Take care of us first. I know he was big on America first, but a lot of things I'm like, boy, I disagree on how he's doing it. I'm like, boy, don't get me wrong. It's not like I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, but it's like, boy, we really should stay out of that. So that and our education system, I ran on that before too. I really where our proficiency grades just keep getting lower and lower and lower. And then we get the teachers union, Randy Whiteheart, she's the head of it, and then you find out that she was in World Economic Forum over the summer in July, and she's talking to them about creating a curriculum with them. So why is the World Economic Forum talking to the 30th worst in the world about education for the whole world? Stop it. That's not. Then I look at the curriculum. You think academics should be number one. It's not. Number one was diversity. Number two was uh, climate change. Number three was I forget what number three was, but then the number four was academics. I'm like, well, that should be the first purpose of this academics is school. And when I found out, I'm like, okay, so who does she answer to? And turns out the teachers union doesn't answer to nobody. They have no oversight whatsoever except themselves, which alarms me because they can give, they heavily influence people. They donate all kinds of money to political, parties, which I'm not a fan of that. To be honest with you, I'm not a fan of outside political monies being taken out of state. It should be state your funds and stuff. If you're going to get money, it should be come from in the state, no out of state influences. That's my point of view. To be honest with you about that, I just homeschooling choices. That's the other thing. Um, we should be allowed to homeschool. If the education system, like I said, the proficiency, 70% of the kids that graduate are reading at an eighth grade level. That's horrible. So a lot of kids, hey, even if they do graduate, they can't get into college because the colleges won't accept what they got, or if they do, then they have to take remedial math or remedial reading or remedial science. And by the time they catches up with them, they spent a whole buttload of money just to get where they should have been when to start with. And homeschooling, hey, by all means, it seems to be a better education. I was totally against it maybe 5 years ago. I was like, there's no, that's crazy. Now, the more and more I looked at it, more and more I researched, I'm like, holy smokes, I get it.
It's gotten, especially nowadays, it's gotten easier and easier because of all the resources that are available out there. And in addition, in New Hampshire, we got the VLAX out there, the Virtual Learning Academy too, which parents are able to take advantage of, especially for subject matter they're not an expert in. Khan Academy, when it comes to especially a lot of the maths and sciences and things of that nature, it's incredible what you can do nowadays. And we're getting in New Hampshire. I mean, we're a poster child with the totally outside the education freedom accounts, which is always the thing that's brought up, but just the revolution in education we're seeing with the charter schools popping up all over the place, starting brand new curriculum and thinking about education from a totally different perspective, whether it's business or arts or kind of more the traditional way of education, where it's back to being focused on it's history and science and math and reading and going back to the basics as opposed to this social emotional learning nonsense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm on a school board, and it's frustrating for me too when I bring it up to the superintendent. I'm like, listen, he's, well, you're measuring success wrong. When I tell him, I'm like, okay, this is actually your matrix, is the SAT. That's your version of how to be tested on it, and these are your numbers. So I'm not measuring it wrong. This is your actual test. He says, no, we measure success by, like you said, SEL, social emotional learning. I'm like, okay, that's great. The growth of I get it. Part of it's good, but when you're in school, academics should be the first thing. It's mind boggling. It really frustrating. But I still keep pecking at it, and I hear other older teachers say, um, they say Singapore math or fact based like was way better, and I from what I understand, it was, that's how I was taught on. And now it's like when I see the Common Core, you get 13 steps for 36 divided by 12. It's like, oh my God, one, two, you keep doing that? I'm like,
Yeah.
holy smokes.
So we only got like 4 minutes left here, but like super quick. I mean, anything super highlight on healthcare side, because that is so vital right now, the cost of healthcare.
Yeah, that I think we'd have to go out of state. That'd be more competitive. Um, Unfortunately, the Democrats, they brought this on themselves. They pushed the Affordable Care Act, and they let it run out. They're like, well, they're doing this. You kind of shot yourself in the foot. You were selling it for all the cure be all. It's not. So now what do we do?
Go
I
bankrupt.
Yeah, let's go back to the way we had it before. Try something, geez, and grow.
Yeah, it's not good. Like the whole, like the ACA was sold as this thing. Oh, we're gonna fix it. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare is it. We're gonna fix it, and we need to defend it to the nth degree while the cost is going up, and we just need to throw money. Throwing money at the problem is always the solution. It seems like, especially for Democrats.
Yeah, tax and spend, tax and spend.
Yeah, we're not gonna fix it for some reason. But all right, so if Edmond Laplante here is the state chairman for the Constitution Party, he's running for U.S. Senate on that ticket, so trying to get the signatures for that. If anyone wants to learn about what you've got going on at the Constitution Party or your attempt for Senate here, what should people do?
Sure. At the Constitution Party, cpofnh.com. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We're on all the major networks. Also, myself, LaPlante for the number Constitutional NH, and that'll bring you to the website and tells you what I'm all about. We're always posting up places we're going to be. Where we do a lot of gun shows. We do a lot of homeschool stuff with Michelle Lavelle and Anne Marie Banfield, and we're always trying to do homeschool and stuff like that. Very, very active in the community. We try to be anyway.
That's great. So definitely check out all that. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. I mean, this has been great to really learn about a third party that's actually trying to make change instead of just bothering everyone they encounter. I love you, LPNH. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. All right, this is the New England take. I'm your host, AJ. I gotta just throw stuff at people just for no reason because it makes me laugh. I'm sorry, everybody.
You're gonna laugh.
Exactly. All right, NewEnglandTake.com. Please be sure to check that out. That is a Substack. If you want every episode in your inbox, that's the place to go. You can just sign up for free. Just I want your emails in there so we can reach out. We also have the New England News Roundup shared through that. So if you want to hear the top stories happening in New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont every Saturday morning, I send those out. I do at least 3 articles from every state. And there's a newscast if you just want to listen to some of the headlines from that as a part of that post. It's also airing on WKXL. Big thank you to them for picking up the show every Saturday, 8:30 a.m. in Concord, Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com. Next up over there is Facing the Future, brought to you by the Concord Coalition. And as always, thank you to GraniteGrock.com for picking up the show. Talk to you soon.